sedentary lifestyle means limited activity, right? That you're not moving very much. And this is, just listen carefully, because a lot of people don't realize that they're sedentary. If you sit more than 6 to 8 hours at a time, you're considered sedentary. And that would probably be a large population on here watching this live right now, because you're not moving for 6 to 8 hours. And there's studies done, the linkages between your being sedentary, sitting for long periods of time, and visceral fat. So you want to make sure that you are not only exercising, but making sure that you're getting up every so often, and every 30 to 90 minutes, get up and walk around, do something else, or stand up, so don't sit for too long periods of time. And it is recommended that minimally you do like 150 minutes of physical activity, like in a week, or more, because that's not that much. So, if you want to mitigate a lot of these effects of visceral fat depositing, make sure you are moving regularly. And again, you may have sat for periods of time, you may have even been at your work for many years, kind of like sitting, and you never really gained too much of it, or it might have been slow and progressive, but it will rapidly increase more as you hit menopause, right? So definitely you want to make sure you're moving more, like at least 150 minutes a week. I know most of my clients will probably move more than that, but at least that. And they did a study that had people do a workout for a year, and they tracked them, and they found that people who they worked out, but then they didn't like continue to exercise. Like they worked out for a year and then they didn't continue to do it afterwards, and they tracked these people, and all those people actually put back on 25 to 30% visceral fat. So and they were sitting, right? But they started exercising for the year, and it was like helping them. And then they tracked them further along where they continued to exercise, and the ones who didn't continue started putting on 25 to 30% visceral fat. So that's why it is very, very important. So put below, do you feel like you are quite sedentary? Put the word sedentary if you're like, I'm pretty sedentary and I need to get up and move a little bit more. Number 5, so the belly trigger, this one I talk a little bit about, but you kind of have to have context, right? So you eat too little protein and not the right balance of macros. So one of the things that they were doing a lot of studies on is people who actually tended to eat more protein, they actually have less visceral fat, less deposits in the middle. Now, there's a couple reasons for this, is because, protein keeps you full longer. You actually, so when you are taking, you feel full longer, you're not eating as much, it keeps you more satiated. Protein also has more thermogenic effect in your body, you need to use more to digest it. I mean, the amount is there. That's not the main one. Now, the other part of protein, though, is it helps you with building muscle, which changes your metabolism, right? Because you have more muscle. So a lot of women, they actually don't consume enough protein. They tend to be on the lower side, and I'm not saying you have to be too high, but I'm just saying be cautious of that. But then here's the thing is, it's also understanding the right amount of protein, carbs, and fat. And yes, everybody's different. For example, Andrea, you have a specific situation that maybe you have to be a bit lower, but everyone is different. And here's the thing, I said this before, fat doesn't make you fat other than maybe trans fat. So think about regular good fat, okay? Fat doesn't make you fat, carbs don't make you fat, and protein doesn't make you fat. But if you overeat on any one of those, you could gain fat, right? Because you're overeating it. You can gain fat from overeating protein too, So it's overeating it and not having the right macro balances in place that you could gain fat, right? So you want to make sure that you have a right ratio. And like I said, there is a room to move. Like there's a good window where you can move between it and you'll be fine. But sometimes, you know, I see people, sometimes their carbs are so high, or sometimes they don't even know it's so high, but their protein is so low, and they're having like just a total incorrect balance, and that's causing a lot of visceral fat, right? So you know, the 45 eyeballs watching, is awesome that you guys are here. Just make sure you guys are like participating too. The reason, there's a reason for this, because if you listen only to listen, the rate of absorption and understanding is only about 50%, and then after the live, it drops to about 30% or 40%. It drops down. The more engaged you are, the more you will retain that. So just a note for all of you, just like trying to be a little bit more active. I'm a strong believer in active learning. I know, Paula, if you're on here, you always take notes, which is awesome. I love that. So being active learners is very important. So coming back to this, so in terms of having the right balance of macros and you making sure you have enough protein, you need to know kind of what is your total caloric need, you know, like I said in my last slide. But you do need to consider things like, you know, all the things like weight, height, your goals, what are you trying to accomplish, and how active you are, how much cardio you're doing, how much resistance training you're doing. There's a lot of factors to consider in regards to what is the right percentages for your body. That's why this is not something that you can just easily just go, oh, it's this, right? Like you actually have to watch for a while of like how you do things and how much energy you're expending, because like last week's live I talked about is ultimately energy in versus energy out, right? So it's like you really have to evaluate that. But I find a lot of people are off kilter in that, and that's where the visceral fat will deposit, right?